It's episode 13. We're literally halfway through the tournament. 12 teams out of 24 have been eliminated. Because, rip Vietnam. It's day two of part 2 of groups of day 6 of
the day 6 title.
Day 6 of groups.
Mm-hmm.
It was Group B. It was no tiebreakers. This doesn't happen very often. But there's some interesting stuff that happened here today.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
So this is episode 13 of Vision Denial. My name is Sebastian. That's Josh, and that's Connor.
Hello.
We decided that if a North American, European, or minor region team made it to quarterfinals or out of groups, we would get their jerseys. Caveat: G2 Fnatic and TSM need to make semifinals.
Indeed.
So far, the only team out of that entire selection is G2 that has made it out.
Sad.
It's very sad.
They don't deserve it, but we're not going back there.
No.
We've already been there.
We've treaded ground.
Yep.
Today is also a sad day. This is where we have there were 12 regions that have participated, leaving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 7th region to be eliminated from the tournament. Completely.
Oh, with the minor regions, yeah.
Yep.
The only minor region we have left is Russia.
Yep. I don't know how they're always last. This is like...
Well, in this case, it's literally just because they're in a lower group, so
that's
has nothing to do with skill.
That's true.
Well, they did make it there, but yeah.
No, I just meant they're still technically in the tournament just because Group D goes last.
Last, yeah.
Yep.
So RIP Pacific. We'll get more into the specifics of how that happened.
Haha.
I did that on purpose. How about we get into it, because I think that the start of this particular one, at least the pick and ban, really speak to an incredible frustration this entire group has been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So take it away, Josh.
We got our first game of the day with PSG versus Damwon. PSG on blue, Damwon on red. PSG start out their draft with a first pick Ashe, followed by a Kindred Syndra. And then they bowed out their draft with a Gangplank Tom Kench. Damwon essentially scoop up all the power picks and go Ornn Graves, followed by Jhin. And then they get Echo Bard to finish out their draft.
Mm-hmm.
We got another Graves Jhin, Seb's favorite.
Yeah, and I also got the red side doesn't ban Ornn at all, and blue side just decides to not pick it up, so red side gets it for free.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe people are saying Graves is better than Ornn. I don't know.
But why would
it's not like Ornn is undefeated.
But why would you pick Ashe first then?
That's very valid.
I literally was like, I don't understand PSG's composition in the order that it was picked.
Mm-hmm.
Like overall, as a whole, I don't hate it. There's not enough multiple forms of engage. There's literally just the Ashe arrow and then the follow up from Syndra, and there's a lot of peeling.
Sure. Yep.
And it's very difficult to play. It requires 15 minutes of snowballing before you can even get anything done. And it really looked like it was just trying to deny power picks out of Damwon.
Yeah.
Only for it to be just a mostly comprehensive composition front to back by Damwon with not enough sustained damage, but it doesn't matter because you've got everyone go in, kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised to see Showmaker got solo killed.
From Tank's gameplay today, I'm not surprised. Granted, this
he was good.
Acting out of Tank.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm surprised that it took him so long to adjust to the stage, which is, I think, a really sad theme of Worlds is that you have to be ready and on the ball on the stage in Worlds.
Yeah.
If you have to take wind up time, you fall behind, and if you perform better on the day compared to another team that passes through, it sucks to suck because you should have been on the ball faster. And said the same thing about
Yep.
Team Liquid. It's the same thing about PSG.
Potentially the same thing about FlyQuest and TSM.
I oh,
We'll get to that tomorrow.
and after this sounds like it's going to be a sad weekend.
I
Uh,
honestly don't have much to say about this game. It's kind of just a smash.
Yep.
Yeah, like
PSG did good early, but I mean, yeah, Ghost got crazy ahead in CS, and then I think the breaking point for me was 16 minutes when basically PSG was grouped up, and then the Echo basically managed to be like, "Hey, I can stun 3 people," and then
mhm.
everyone followed in on that. They got a 3-4-0, and then
Yep.
they just snowballed it from there.
They'd like really beat the crap out of Unified and Kaiwing
Mhm.
like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta
Yeah.
say though, despite this particular draft, I think this is an anomaly out of them.
Out
Like
of
they're
PSG.
usually not this bizarre out of their drafts.
Hmm.
This is just like a weird decision out of them, and they don't repeat this kind of like bizarroid peeling only draft. But yeah, not much other than like Damwon recognized the win condition and the win conditions of the opponent, played it patiently, and then won.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll just go on to the next game. Rogue versus JD. Rogue on blue. We got Rogue first picking Ornn. Wow, it's almost like you should be doing that. Graves Oriana, followed up by a Kindred Pantheon. And then we've got JD picking up a Set Silas and an Echo, so triple jungle flex technically, and triple mid flex,
And triple top flex.
and triple top flex.
Yeah.
Followed up by
All
a Jin Camille.
Mhm.
So Damwon, really quick, I want to just say, good job being literally impossible to predict until like the last pick, essentially. In terms
JDG,
of
you mean?
who's sorry, yeah, I'm JD. For
Yep.
being essentially
Readable.
unreadable for like the whole draft until like literally the last 20 seconds when you're not allowed to swap anymore.
Yep.
As for Rogue, I like the Callista Pantheon. Like, I think that's a really good draft. Like,
Mhm.
that's a
I
good
think the whole
bottom
thing
lane.
is really good.
Yeah.
The core
Yep.
three they picked up is really solid. It has a very clear identity. It has 2 lanes that aren't meant to smash, but they survive and farm very well and scale well, allowing a lot of opportunity for them to like help the Graves collapse if need be. And the Graves has a lot of like setup opportunity post 6 for both sides.
Yeah.
Also allows a chance for a lot of dragon control down bot because you can just leave Ornn and Oriana can clear waves as fast as any of the flex picks involved. The fact also the matters that JDG didn't ban Ornn on red side, and they
Yeah.
picked Ornn first, and I was like, you know what? Good. And yeah, the Callista Pantheon's a really good pivot to add sustained damage as well as extra engage. Like this is both sides pick very solid compositions. This is like a very cool dynamic draft. I think the
Yep.
issue here is that they're not banning anything as an attempt to predict what the other side's going to do.
Are you talking about Rogue or are you talking about both?
Both.
Hmm.
Right? Like, look at the second round of bans. Like, the first round of bans is just like, oh, here are the power picks we don't want from both sides, and we let Ornn through.
Mhm.
And then the second round is, all right, which AD carries should we ban? And then they
Sure.
just ban 4 AD carries. And it doesn't sound like they're trying to predict what the composition's going to do because they would have usually banned supports at this point or any type of flex, right? Because like you can quite literally put Set in the bot lane or Silas in the bot lane. Again, you could put any three of them in the bot lane and have a support and have something else there. There's no prediction on either side being done to like figure out how to either mitigate or pivot the opponent to pick something that might be disadvantageous. So like this is cool. This is a really good draft. This is, I think, the best draft I've seen out of Rogue, and this is uncharacteristically really good out of Gen.G also. And the game that followed did not reflect that.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Are we just going right to that game, or does Connor have anything to add?
No, I mean, I thought that I was noticed. So they, like, Rogue kept trying to set up tower dives and stuff, and both teams like, we're going for the dive plays, but you know the Ornn was getting the counter kills each time, and then it's like that was good out of them. But what ended up happening is Camille got a lot of free time and got like all of the turret plates, and basically even though Rogue was up in kills, the entire gold lead was counteracted by the fact that Camille got the entire turret before turret plates fell off.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of gold. It's like 800 or something in total. It's a lot of individual gold if you have to have that turret for 14 minutes. It was at like whatever 200 health, but still.
Yeah.
I gotta say,
yeah.
What the really hell are what is everybody on Rogue thinking?
And what do you mean?
Did you see the support build out of Orianna? The build that is literally cursed, the one where if you build pure AP, you get more effectiveness out of anything those support items would give you. He built Chalice Essence Reaver, or Chalice
Archangels.
He built Chalice Archangels and what's it?
Ardent Censer, the best item, right, Connor?
I mean,
you're a support main like me. You're supposed to say yes.
I'm a Gen main, and I love it on Lux and stuff, so yes.
Sure, but except why would you not pick
up so good
top then? If this was your goal, why wouldn't you pick Karma top when you could have just?
I think because like you said, the Ornn was up. So like why because you would have been pissed if they picked Karma first.
Oh no, I would have been. My point here being is if you're going to build like Karma, dedicate to that. I would be less angry than
if
what I
am.
So would you have been okay if Larson was on Karma mid?
Building these items, yes.
Okay.
Athene's has always been a solid, like, if you're like late item, like Orianna, build like your 6th item kind of thing, be like, yeah, just throw in Athene's here because you're always going to be getting off the shields and you're always going to be getting off damage. So you can proc the healing from it really easily. And a little bit of extra MR, like it's nice, but it's kind of like a 6th item kind of thing. Like if you go with 5th, it's like okay. If you go with earlier than that, it's a little, I don't know.
Like, why is your 3rd or 4th item not Death Cap? Why do you have 0 AP built? What is?
Yeah.
What is
plus, the team comp is all AD, right? So I do it earlier if like, yeah, if you have a lot of other magic damage in your team and you're like you need the supportive power. Okay, cool. But yeah, it's the only AP source. So that's more than fair, yeah. More than fair.
Should we go to Rogue's second slap of the day?
What?
Should we go to Rogue's second slap of the day?
Oh yeah, the one where they get whacked.
This game is Damwon and Rogue. Damwon on blue side. Damwon first picks a Graves, followed up by a Senna TF. And they round out their draft with Leona Kennen. Rogue respond by first picking a combination of Ashe and Lilia, followed by a Rise. And then they pick a Nautilus Scion. Really quick for me, I see very much, at least for me, I see like a lack of damage if the Rise can't get ahead. Like Ashe is a fine, like Ashe is like middle ground, right? Like she's not bad, she's not good. She's like yeah, like it's like good.
Here's your standard sustained damage AD carry, yeah.
And And like, I don't know, like the Rise, as much as it can be good, I feel like the fact that they picked like Lilia, who doesn't really have burst, she's got like kind of slow chip away damage with her passive, and then they got Scion Nautilus in the top lane. I know it was banned, but like if they had like a set, like something tanky that could still do damage instead of the Scion or the Nautilus, whichever, like I would have been less weirded out by this draft. But like I don't know, I just feel like they left themselves up to get like camped and like screwed.
Yeah. So here's the thing that weirds me out from this.
Mhm.
Why in the goddamn hell would you pick Rise and not Cassidon?
Also true.
I was thinking about that for a second. I thought I had an answer, and then I was wrong. So I was looking at it, and I'm like, okay, so they're going, like, let's say they were planning on the lane swap. So they were
Yep.
planning on going Scion, planning on going their lane swap. They were like, okay, this is how we're going to play against them, is doing the 2v1 lane swap top. If, they go Senna, we can push Bastion. Cool. Awesome. So that's their plan. And then enemy team locks in Twisted Fates. They're like, crap. They picked the counter to this, and they picked what we wanted, because we wanted the Twisted Fate. Uh-oh. Well, we need the global out of the mid lane. I guess let's go Rise so we can get stuff over. Then I'm looking at that and being like, but if that's what you wanted, why not go Galio? It's just better.
But also, why first pick the Ashe? In my head,
Yeah.
Ashe is good, but she's not first pick good.
So I think it's a really good combination if you're picking it with the Lilia. It gives you a strong sense of, because there is burst within Lilia, but the burst is mostly during a team fight setting. And if you know you're going to be opting into some form of burst and you're going to combo it with another form of burst, guaranteeing yourself a standard, solid, like sustained damage that's also AD that is easy to pair up with almost every other support that exists is a good move in this sense. Like everything Damwon does is literally by the book, and I can't fault them. Like if I was to be like, sure, you don't get 100%, you get like 95 because you literally followed the rules word for word, but didn't do anything more. But on this side is like, cool, you recognize that you needed sustained damage because you knew which direction you're going to go, and the Lilia is one of the answers towards Graves without having to pick Nidalee, and all of Europe, thank God, has abandoned the Evelyn. So this is not a bad takeaway. The takeaway here is, why the hell would you pick Rise, which I never even wrote once in my notes of this game. Hell, this game barely even has like a page of notes.
Because it's just such a smack, honestly. Like, it's how do I put this? Like,
Rogue was trying to play the map.
Sorry, go.
They were trying to play the map and went, okay, we're going to do the lane swap. We're going to play the map. We're going to go around it. But then they're doing that with their only global, per se, I guess, is like they have an Ashe arrow, and I guess the Lilia can hit things from really far away, or the Rise. But like they're doing this into Senna Twisted Fate, which are just flat out better than you at doing that. Yeah. So every time they try to make a play, it's like TF ult, Senna ult comes in over top, and it's like, oh, that's enough to make them win.
Yeah, the goal here was to shut down the Kennen, and they failed to do that.
Yes.
But also, like, how are you going to shut down a Kennen with a Scion? In my mind, at least.
No, the Scion is to facilitate having a tank and a team fight option, and the lane swap. Because if you have a Scion, then it's easy to do the lane swap without having the Scion get behind in CS. The Scion dies into tower dive and is just like, all right, cool. Goes back to farming and is like, hasn't lost XP or farm. TPs.
That's right. This is the game that they lane swapped.
Yes.
I hated it.
I love lane swaps. Lane swaps in this meta right now is great, especially since it seems the more the tournament goes on, the more level 1 the meta becomes. And like, I know yesterday, Josh, you were like, I hate level 1s, they stress me out. But also, unfortunately, it seems like this is the trend, is that it's going to be more and more.
I mean, hey, if that's what it's got to be, that's what it's got to be. But like, I just feel like the way this lane swap was done, because like, I don't know, I feel like it's almost better, because Han Sama gave away not first blood, but like revenge first kill blood thing, by trying to snipe Nuggery under. Oh, look, a pet.
No, it's like girlfriend.
Oh, it looked like a dog.
Yes, she's trying to stay out of the camera, which is
funny. But like they go to kill Nuggery, but Nuguri gets just out of range. So then Hansama flashes forward, and like I don't know if that was worth it.
It's all of the honestly the
Yeah,
first
that
5
wasn't a good
minutes
play.
that Rogue played out. I'm like, I'm genuinely impressed. I didn't think this team would have the gutsos or the ability to do this.
See, I don't know. I
And
don't agree if like giving up a kill like that is worth it. You already set the cannon behind by getting them that low.
see, the thing is that they overextended and kept trying to do it when it was not needed. They literally had zoned the cannon out. They didn't execute this lane swap properly. They're literally supposed to keep the lane swapping happening. The more that the lane swaps are happening and the less farm and experience that Kennen has, the better that they are to transition to mid game ahead of pace. But they didn't, and they extended the laning phase instead because they kept fucking it up. And as such, they let Damwon just take control of the tempo. If you're going to be the team that initiates the lane swap,
Yep.
you have to be the one controlling the tempo all the time. And if you fuck that up, then you lose. Full stop. And like, I understand why they did that. They recognize that like all of their other lanes are within manageable skill cap of Damwon, and as a team they can possibly keep up. But the big difference maker is that Nuguri exists as a fucking legend. And so how do you contend with that if Nuguri's going to be playing a top lane carry of any facet and ruining your day? Well, we'll just try to stop him from even trying to play. Unfortunately, a lot of people have tried this already and it doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like I'm not saying Nuguri is nearly this good, but I feel like it's almost kind of like back in the day when it's like, oh, we'll just ban out Faker, where it's like, like, I
Yeah,
mean, you could, but
maybe
like, maybe don't. Like,
he has a career winning record on over 80 champions, and he only has a losing record on 2.
yeah, like again, I still think Faker is like the bigger, better player, like overall career, blah blah blah. But like
Yeah,
Nuguri's
no,
like
same
close.
thing.
Like
Yeah,
Nuguri's pretty good. So like you can't like just shut him down. Like he's not Huni. He's not like just an aggressive Korean top that like loses like if they're set a little bit behind. He's not what's it, Khan? He's not a
yeah.
Huni. He's not a Khan. Like he's clearly showed that he's like a really good player. So like
Yep.
you can't like treat him like a normal good player. Like he's like that grade above. So yeah.
There's the in during the regular season, because out of all of the regions I chose to follow the Korean scene on top of the North American scene. Oof. Uh, the one thing that was regularly said is that if Nuguri had no deaths, he was playing on his weakest form. The more times he died, the harder he was to play against. And lo and behold, pretty sure he had a significantly high gold lead against his opponent and had more deaths than him.
He did. One more.
Yeah, because they kept killing him, and Nuguri was like, "All right, I don't care."
Well, like the amount of times this tournament where it's like 3 people like dive Nuguri or whatever, and like he at least trades 1 kill in the process. It's like cool. Was
Yeah.
it even worth? Like,
Well, he's playing Kennen. That's
no, but I'm
He
not
did
like
like
not even just this game, like other games as well.
well, they did it to him. This is his second Kennen game, I believe, right?
I
Other
think
Yeah.
time he was playing Kennen, they did the same thing. Where it's like you're trying to dive him, like he was even as like 5 people. It's like, well, yes, but Kennen can stun all 5 of you, and then he just picks whoever's the lowest health and whoever is tower aggro, and
Yep.
hits them with his other abilities. And if you get hit by a full Kennen combo,
probably
you're
dead.
probably and a couple tower shots, you're probably gonna die. So it doesn't matter if he's 5v1. Your tower diving him and letting him plus tower kill one of you at least.
It's just a weird decision out of Rogue. Like, I understand on paper you don't have the confidence to beat them straight up. You take a strategy that you have some idea of how to work. Unfortunately, Damwon clearly was prepared and had the tempo control, despite the fact that you initiated it, and then you fucked it up, and then you also try to do it against Nuguri. Bad move. Feels bad.
Next game.
Yeah.
Sure.
This one was a surprise to me as to like how much they got slapped. JD versus PSG. We got PSG coming out as the winner in this one.
Hell yeah.
JD on blue side had a first pick Graves, followed up by a Kale Gallio, and then they rounded out their draft with an Ezreal Karma support. Then PSG picked a Syndra Ornn, and then a Kindred, and finished out their draft with Caitlyn Lux.
I'm
Wow.
not gonna mince words here. I think Gen.G just doesn't know how to play Ornn.
Well,
or
not only that.
Do you think that they were trying to disrespect in style?
No.
Really?
No, this draft is just bad.
Yeah, this draft is just bad. There's
you don't
no
think
way
they're trying to like let Zoom have like a carry Kale game?
Okay, but
it takes to do that.
But look at this draft. It's like, okay, we got a Kale. What does Kale do? Okay, you can save one person for a couple seconds, and you're just putting out, DPS, attack speed. Cool.
And then it takes you 25 minutes
and DPS. I guess Ezreal can build an Iceborne to have some slows, I guess, for some soft CC, sure. And you did do that. But Karma has a route which takes some time. It's delayed, right?
Yeah.
And a speed. Graves, again, no CC. And then Galio, which is what you're relying on, as like the Galio is your only engage, and
it's not even a good engage.
Your main defensive tool. Yeah, it's not a good engage. The only time they had close fights and they looked good is when Galio pulled off like a really good 4-person taunt. Like that happened once or twice, and like, yeah, they had a good fight. Why? Because Galio landed everything on multiple people and enabled them to get off their burst damage.
Like they only got one kill this game.
Yeah,
they have no CC.
That's bad.
So let's say the Syndra's running away and the Syndra ease you back. What do? What do you now have that enables you to catch up or just like stun that Syndra? You don't have like an Ash arrow to stun her for a second and then run up to her. You don't have a Nautilus or a Thresh to hook her. What do you have? Galio only jumps at a teammate, and Taunt is close range too. Like you can't chase her. She ease you back, gets away every single time. You have nothing to catch her with.
So here's how you can tell if they were like trying to style on you or not.
Yep.
How many personal engage methods, like how many ways does your champion enable yourself alone without the need of other people? Ezreal doesn't do that. Galio doesn't do that. Kale for sure as hell doesn't do that until like she's 16. Graves, and then you have Karma. There's no opportunity for styling or disrespect here. They legitimately thought this was going to be a good idea, and I think the analyst here needs to be fired.
Yeah, because it's like they have no way of like engaging in like a taunt flash, which is 5-minute cooldown on flash. Like flash engages are not reliable cooldowns for fights, really. Like in theory, you can get a flash off every drag fight and go for soul by flashing every drag fight, but like it's not really like a win condition. Like it's
I think it's weird that Red Side keeps getting away with not banning Ornn and then getting it with their first rotation. Like I saw the Syndra first and then the Ornn second. I'm like, all right, the Syndra first is justified at that point.
Yep.
And then they got Kindred, and I'm like, this core is objectively better than whatever JDG is going to come up. I don't care what the bot lane is. JDG loses this game straight up because they're going to ban all engage options, and whatever else they pick is either going to become too tanky and too slow to make it 2 kills win condition, or have serious issues in the mid game. And lo and behold, they picked Ezreal Karma, and it had serious issues in the mid game, and
it's like the opposite way. Like Caitlyn has decent range and stuff. Like most of you are going to have to play within Caitlyn's range and Lux's range. So what do you have that like can stop them or enables you to jump on them? You really don't. Like the Ornn can just kind of go where he pleases in this game. Like
I gotta say,
all those ornaments.
The most impressive thing, I put like here the time checks for these fights is for this game is 15 and 25 minutes. 15 minutes, PSG had 1.5k lead, and they had that lead for 12 minutes straight.
Yep.
And then at 25 minutes, they ballooned it to 4.5, and then won shortly after.
So and the lead being on the Kindred enabled them to take dragons early.
Yep.
Cool.
So Honestly,
Kindred can outfight Graves. That's all you need.
this was honestly a seriously well set up draft by PSG.
Yep.
Good recognition from them, and shows why I don't think Gen.G is the second best team out of China. Why I keep thinking Suning is. This has never been a thing that we saw out of Suning. This is never that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why personally I hope that when the draws happen for the quarterfinals, Suning and Gen.G face off because I never got to see them do a best of 5. That'll be exciting. But I don't think that'll be the case. It's like it's a 1 in 4 chance.
We go on to the next game?
Yeah.
All right. PSG versus Rogue. PSG on blue side.
Uh-huh.
Notably, Rogue misses a ban. I guess they just don't care anymore at this point, which is fair. I mean,
No, they don't miss a ban here.
Why does it say no ban on thingy then?
They banned Twisted Fate, Lucent, Caitlyn, as well as Twitch and Alistar.
I only see their third ban isn't listed on the website.
Oh, it's Caitlyn.
Okay, cool. Never mind. My bad. I still don't think they cared, but whatever. No, we're not going bans. PSG first picks a Ornn, so good job. Then they round out the first half of the draft with a Graves Syndra. And then they finish off their draft with the bot lane of Aphelios Thresh. Rogue first picks a Orianna Lilia, followed up by a Irelia. And then they pick Senna Braum. Two things about these bot lanes. One, I thought Aphelios got nerfed into the ground.
They gave him a little bit of a buff in the Worlds patch, not a lot.
All right. So I guess that's not that weird. But then Senna Braum, I feel, is like super not a good idea. Isn't it kind of like the same reason why you don't play Jin Braum? Like,
yeah. Braum likes to have attack speed, or in theory.
I know why the Braum is probably there. I'm pretty sure it's literally there just to keep Ornn's ult in check, which is like, sure. But like, again, there were other AD carries. Ashe was still open, so like, why not pick the Ashe?
Yeah, no, honestly, that probably would have been significantly better in this case. You're hitting right up right on the nose. Hell, you could have picked Thresh and done the trick to stop Ornn's effectiveness.
Oh, flay him when you do the thing?
Flay or hook him, any of the options that exist. Because like the issue with this is that Braum's only utility out of this entire thing is make sure you have the shield up when Ornn does his thing in a composition that has a Syndra ult, an Aphelios ult, and Aphelios is like 5 other abilities.
I mean, at least Aurelia gets like attack speed and stuff. So in theory, you Braum Q and then Aurelia jumps on somebody and stuns them twice.
Cool.
Like Aurelia Braum works well, but that's kind of
not most of the time not together. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also think if you're gonna pick Lilia, you don't want to pick Orianna together this early. This literally got you countered on 2 fronts. The 2v2 mid jungle was straight up, hi, we have priority mid. I hope you have a nice time. This is again like a solid draft out of PSG, recognizing and Rogue really.
They literally pulled a TL. Like they're like, let's do the best we've done all tournament when it doesn't matter anymore.
They're like, it's another example of a team that did really well in play-ins and then kind of like had to ramp up in groups before doing something, and we're still 1 game off, literally against the team that every other team didn't lose to. This is the saddest thing. They literally could have had a tiebreaker against Gen.G.
And judging on how the game of today went, they might have won it.
Yeah.
It's just weird, man. I don't get it. It's like, ugh, Wow.
Yep.
Who
Well,
did they
that's
lose?
one of those
Who
things.
did Rogue win? Did Rogue beat PSG earlier? Is that what their
Yeah,
one loss
Rogue
is?
beat PSG on the first day.
Holy shit. That's
Yeah.
Really sad.
wow.
Yep.
Oh, that's gotta
It's literally the
hurt.
same. That's literally the same tragedy as Team Liquid. The only difference here is that JDG did beat Damwon, so that means that the tiebreaker would have never been possible given that scenario.
Mhm.
So like, you'd have had to change 2 things instead of 1.
But still, like it still hurts.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yep. Oh,
Anyway,
for
had-
sure.
last game of the day, because we got no tiebreakers. This makes
Mhm.
no sense to me, like the outcome based on 2 games ago, but whatever. JD versus Damwon. JD on blue side. JD pulls out the win. There is no Ornn ban, but the first
Yeah.
pick is Camille.
This tells me that neither one of these teams know how to play Ornn. So I'm going to
Damwon
put that
then
right out the way.
picks Set Graves. Or sorry, let's do all one side. What am I talking about? JD picks first pick Camille, then followed up with a TF Lilia. I'm okay with that. Then they round out their draft with a bot lane of Misfortune Bard. Also okay with that. Damwon pick a Set Graves. That's fine. Galio, also okay, I guess. And then Callista, Alistair, which is also fine, in my mind. It's pretty AD heavy. Probably would have been better with like a Lilia or something AP. Yeah, I don't know
I
what
feel
you
like
guys have to think.
okay.
Huh?
It's okay because there's no tanks on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, that always makes it.
That's one of those things where, like, when you see a whole side making AD and everybody's like, "Oh, it's over," and you gotta look at the other side and go, "What if they all die in like 2 seconds, though?"
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like, it doesn't matter.
But
What
oh
I
my
think,
god, TF Camille, yes, like so good.
I honestly, I'm very confused here. Like,
they
there's nothing inherently bad. There's just like a couple of spots where I'm like, why was the Leona banned in second phase?
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Right? Like, why was set picked so early given the other options? Like, why would you take
it's
the
a
risk of
flex.
letting
It's
Galio
strong.
go? Like, he could have done Galio Graves, and that would have been a pretty solid go ahead, especially since they get the Galio anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Why was
Mhm.
Lilia picked after the Twisted Fate so early? Given the rest of their composition, this looks super good still, but why was it picked after you've seen a set Graves go there? That's like not a great 2v2 matchup.
Mm-hmm.
I've got like, given like if Set was mid and you opt into Twisted Fate Lilia against Set Graves, it's very bizarre. You're making there's like a lot of assumptions that are happening here, and it
Okay.
makes me feel as if like both of these teams were going like, we got a bluff. You're gonna call it? We're gonna call a bluff. That's literally what this draft feels like.
Mm.
And I don't know. There's nothing inherently wrong out of this outside of Ornn is not banned or picked on either side. And I think any team who's watching this, and these are the 2 teams that went to quarterfinals, they could exploit this heavily.
It's true.
They could pick blue side every time, and if you know how to play Ornn, force them to either ban it, or if they don't, pick it first every time and abuse the hell out of it.
Damwon has played Ornn, by the way. They played it literally today.
So why the hell wasn't it?
Mm. I'm checking right now, but they played their game against PSG. Nuguri was
Yeah,
on Ornn.
yeah,
Hmm.
which is what confuses me more out of this. Like, were they expecting JDG to not play it at all? Because that's what it looks like. JDG didn't
It
ban it
does
at
look
all.
like JDG doesn't play it though.
So
Yeah, that.
It
first
does
place
look like JDG does not play it.
first
Mhm.
place teams from Group A, C, and D abuse Ornn.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, you probably get a 3-0.
Oh wow.
I mean, nothing here has shown me any confidence from JDG. Not from their playoffs. Not from their play at Worlds. I don't have very
So
much
who's
confidence.
the bigger fluke than being here, DRX or them?
DRX.
Still, okay.
100%. JDG at least showed that they had some understanding of win conditions, that they were much more calculated in the game macro-wise.
Mhm.
They just have weird drafts. They don't execute. They don't have like very solid draft decisions,
Yeah.
but they have very solid draft executions.
Yeah.
Like they know exactly how to execute their drafts, even when behind.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
just throw at 29 minutes most of the time.
Isn't it great?
I literally saw one of the games. I was like, doesn't count a throw if it's at 28 minutes. I think that's actually this game.
But isn't it like maybe just that game, like they were a tiny bit ahead, so it just happened a tiny bit earlier, like plus minus 1 minutes, not really
Yeah.
something like that.
I usually say 27 to 30 minutes is the range you want to look at.
Mhm.
They'll probably throw around there, but it's hilarious that it's so often at 29 minutes.
Yeah, that's true.
I gotta say though, both of these teams matched pressure super well, but decided to pick the weirdest fights. And I think this was also Barrel's very big off day. Did anybody get that feeling?
I just thought this honestly, I watched all the games, but like I got really like out of the games today. Like I was having a really hard time absorbing everything because it's kind of like the groups decided. Like nothing matters almost. So I've watched everything today, but it's like you can't like ask me like I'm gonna struggle with the question of the day, for example, because like I'm just like fuck man, like
No, I get that. It's just something that I found very weird is that despite the wins, Barrel was consistently being outpositioned, picked off consistently, like had weird, was super consistent still with the vision, but was not like, was being very aggressive with it and getting caught out super often, making weird engaged decisions. This was like a weird day for Barrel.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't like specifically write that down, but like I never noticed him doing anything like
Looking
good.
at it like this, I could see
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
All right, we moving on to the question of the day.
I want to do one more thing here.
Sure.
This is the first time in forever, and I'm exaggerating here, but it's
Okay.
quite literally 6 months, almost, where Damwon has never been behind. Like their summer split, they lost 2 games, and this is the first time they've lost in like 4 or 5 months or something. So like I'm seeing a little hesitation when behind and a lot of misexecutions in terms of like punishments and re-engages.
Ooh.
And it shows. And I
Okay.
wrote down here that there was not a really good close out of JDG because they essentially were just like accepting free points. They had great Baron setups, great neutral setups, were doing very well in terms of punishing when needed. They still also themselves had weird engages, but Damon, if you're behind in any game whatsoever, I hope that you have a strategy for the best of fives. Because I'm pretty sure top is played from behind very often. So like top is never gonna let you do anything from that.
Um, who were you saying doesn't play Ornn again?
Nugger,
JG?
not
Doesn't seem to
Nuggery,
play well.
Zoom.
Zoom?
Yeah,
Okay, because like Ornn was like his most played in the summer split.
that's
Okay.
weird.
Well, they have not played it yet at all this tournament.
I'm going back
And
for notes. I'm like, I feel like this is wrong. I'm like,
but why haven't they played it yet? Why do they keep letting it go? This like, and we see their drafts are kind of bizarre on
But
a lot
also
of them.
Nuggery's also only played Ornn once this tournament. So it's like they
Yep.
should both be better. Like they should both be good at Ornn, so it's weird.
Yeah, and
They might
also
be able to play it, like just how we saw that Nuggery today finally played it, and how Zoom
Yep.
played it all summer, but like they're not pulling it out now, which is weird.
So I wrote down a note just when I was looking at these two, since we didn't really actually go through and talk about players
Mm-hmm.
per se individually. That's something like Yamato Cannon had said, which was Zoom is probably the best top laner overall in the entire tournament, just overall in a metric. But Nuggery looks the best against anybody who's like not top tier. If you're like a kind of just like an average top lane of the tournament, if you're not like a super good at the role, he just devours anybody who's weaker. So he'll press his advantage against somebody who's weaker than him super easily. But Zoom is probably better overall.
And this is a stacked tournament for top lane. So like that's a statement.
I don't agree with
it. I just wrote it down because I thought it was interesting as a discussion point.
I mean, I don't disagree with that. Given from my experience watching the playoffs from both regions, Zoom is definitely the more consistent of the two players and has provided more things. Nuguri is the one that provides the most opportunities to catch up mistakes. I think, Yamato kind of perfectly encapsulated it. It's easier to catch up mistakes from people who are not at the cream of the crop. Like, imagine like standard deviation. Like, there's the average, and then there's like the top 5, top 1%. This entire tournament, usually Worlds has like people from the middle and then top, and like this entire tournament is top 5%, and then Nuguri and Zoom are like in the top 0.1%. And so like those two duke it out against anybody in the top 5% makes the top 5% look absolutely mediocre.
Yeah.
So I can totally see that statement. I wouldn't argue against that really, but yeah.
Yeah.
So my question of the day is the same questions from yesterday, like I mentioned in the theme so far. The two teams that were eliminated were Rogue. I'm not surprised. Ooh. And PSG. That's really sad. Feel unfortunate. I mean, I predicted it, but like, it's unfortunate. I really wanted to see them go the distance. How about, because I started with both of the teams yesterday, how about one of you two start with your grading?
I'll do it.
All right.
I'll do it. I gave Rogue a 55.
Ooh.
Not super great.
You gave him a D?
Pardon?
You gave him a D?
Yeah. Just because, like, they didn't do anything this tournament. Like, I feel like a lot of their drafts were kind of like, what? Like,
they have some good drafts and they have some drafts, but most of their drafts really outshine their okay or good drafts.
Yeah. So like their draft score was pretty low. The thing that ended up saving them for me, like their highest score was Vision, because I didn't have too much to complain about in Vision. It wasn't great, but I didn't have anything to complain about. So after everything's calculated up, it makes 55. And like, yeah, like I'm not impressed. I feel like they kind of got rolled over way too easily and overcommitted to certain things like lane swaps and tower dives.
Yep.
Your go, Connor. I mean, I was converting scores like the way Seth had it, so like out of 5, where like, so technically if we're doing them out of 100, I had them at 45.
Oh, wow. I thought I was being harsh. Holy smokes. Okay.
I gave them the lowest score on drafts that I've given anybody so far.
What'd you give them?
8, just because most everyone else had like at least like 10 out of 15 kind of thing. At PSG higher just because their drafts. But I feel like Rogue. Yeah, a lot of the drafts weren't the worst per se always, but they didn't really.
They didn't inspire you.
Yeah. Like to this game, it's like sure you can go like Braum and Irelia and stuff, and I guess you sort of have a front line with but like only the Braum. Like, yes. And like, these kinds of things, it's like it works. Doesn't mean I like it.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, right?
That's right.
Same like their execution and stuff, right? Like they'd have a set play, they'd have a set thing, like, okay, let's get X ahead. And they just go with, with one thing and just go for it. It's like, well, as soon as the team figures out that one win condition you're going for, very easy for them to say, okay, you're, whatever, playing entirely around trying to get your jungle ahead.
Yep, that's fair.
Trying to get dragons. Cool. So now we're gonna give up our top lane and play 5v4 and very easy to counter kind of thing, right? Like, yeah,
So
they didn't have a bad vision score or anything per se.
I gave them a C in their vision score, a C
Yeah.
plus in draft, C plus in execution, C plus in team fighting.
Yeah.
Equivalent of a C plus, which is participation trophy.
Yeah, I
Uh,
have C plus as well, right on the
yeah,
border.
it's
Border of
it's
C plus.
it's honestly so weird to see them recognize exactly what they're supposed to do and then just straight up not do it.
Mm-hmm.
When I
Uh,
like this is the thing that also bothered me when I was watching them going into playoffs. I heard rumors like Europe looks so good. The playoffs are gonna be so wild. We got this team who's doing this comeback and everything's great. And I saw like Schalke play their first best of five, and I'm like, wow, I'm really impressed out of Schalke. This is some good League of Legends. I wonder if the rest of the region's like that. And I watched Rogue versus Fnatic, and my God, was the team to first qualify for Worlds ever the most disappointing team out of every team to qualify a World.
Mm-hmm.
I think, bar none, if they had to play in the play-ins, they would have done worse than Matt.
Maybe.
huh.
Given how anything that they've shown me, um, I have to say though, at least they know exactly what the beats of the game are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just why don't they do it?
That's always the question.
Right? Like, wow, this is a super team. This is one of the two super teams. Mad Lions and Rogue were the two super teams that come out of Europe. They were like the lauded
Well,
second seed into playoffs, and then lo and behold, they fumble in playoffs and they fumble worse in Worlds. And I'm just like,
okay. But I mean, we do usually say, like, hey, a lot of rookie teams might have a harder time on the world stage. And
Yeah.
people say it, it's like, well, okay, well, we saw it here, right? Like, there are a lot of new players. Like,
mhm,
okay, cool. You did well. You know, you qualified for Worlds in like your first year with a lot of new players.
well,
Awesome. You know, fix your mistakes. You know, figure out what you need to work on. Figure out
okay.
some new strategies. Like, you know, I'd like to see them come back next year with a bit more experience, right? Like,
So the difference here is that 3 out of the 4 Chinese teams are also
Mhm.
rookie teams.
But
guess
then
that's
there's
fair.
also the argument of, but it's China.
Wow, that's not an argument at all.
A little bit. It's a little bit of an argument.
Europe was also the other finalist region.
Mm-hmm.
Both of
Mhm.
these regions have 4 seeds for a reason. Both of these regions were lauded as equals as they both won one trophy for each international tournament that happened during the year
Mm-hmm.
and were competitive against each other regularly for that. For the year after that, to have both regions send 50 to 75% new teams to Worlds, where most of them are new players,
Mhm.
and yet one region has teams where they're like buckling down and they're actually like playing in a sense where they're prepared for this, and the other side is, oh, maybe we should take into account that they're probably not comfortable. Maybe they're not used to stage play. Maybe it's like, no, that makes no sense, right? We didn't get that kind of excuses for LGD when they were playing in the play-ins where they didn't play in their homes. They played on stage for
Mm-hmm.
their playoffs, and they had the ability to not have any of those issues, and they played rough. And they have mostly veteran players, and it's a actual team that has made it to Worlds before. We can't allot that kind of excuse either for any of the new teams. Both Rogue and Mad Lions were disappointing in their playoffs,
Yeah.
despite the fact that they were hyped up to hell.
I think that's also
And
just a byproduct of their way of picking their teams, though.
yeah,
If they
I'm
had something similar to NA, it would have been very different.
I 100% agree.
And as
I
much as
don't.
I like championship points, we're not going to get into that whole discussion on how to do splits and stuff. Maybe that'll be a bonus episode later.
Yeah, I think it's a nice bonus episode, like a week or two after Worlds happens.
Yeah. Do you want to just like snake it so like you come back now with your notes
Yeah,
on PSG?
yeah. PSG, I gave an overall B mark here. I
Sure.
gave them B
Okay.
plus for drafts. They have some wonky ones, but most of the time they have very solid understanding of where the drafts are supposed to go and how to like answer them. They have minus on vision. Kaiwing is a beast.
Yeah.
Plus on execution. That's literally where their grade hurts the most. They have been the least consistent at playing into what their strengths of their drafts are, and when they are, it's too little, too late. And then team fighting, I put B minus because like they slotted in literally a bunch of players a bunch of times, and the team fights looked almost identical across the board, and I think that's pretty solid. But again, the warm up hurt that grade a little bit, so that's a B minus instead of like an A minus in this case.
Cool.
So overall, my grade came up to about a B exactly.
Nice. Connor?
Yeah.
Yep. Actually, I think I would also have them as a B. I gave PSG a very solid score, like I think that's A minus or something, on draft. I thought, they were pretty solid there. They never lost a game on draft, which a lot of other teams can't say.
Yeah.
Oh.
TL.
Like even JDG here.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, they had a lot of other like decent scores around. That was their only like really good score, but yeah, they did a good job of like even a lot of the games they lost, like they would, they'd get picks, especially out of the support. Kaiwing was great, especially in play-ins. You know, Tank looked solid, especially today and stuff. Like, it's it's a shame that they actually had two just flat out slightly better teams in this group. You can argue, but
Yeah.
I think all around I gave their final score was a 65, and I had Liquid at 63. So
yeah, it's around the same.
Yeah.
Michael?
Yep.
My overall score for them is a 61. I was really like most of this is honestly just because of their first week. Their first week is pretty garbo. And that's mostly what kept this from being good. Their weakest stat in terms of like points given versus points lost for me is also execution. The execution of what they were doing was sometimes really wonky, and their vision was fine, but not like ridiculous, at least in my mind. So like their vision score is like also like okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with the way PSG played. They played exactly as I expected them to. I just feel unfortunate that like these two teams, PSG was slotted with one of the two favorites of the world, and Machi was slotted with three teams that are just consistently better than the whole of the PCS region.
Yeah.
Sure.
So like, I think in almost any other format, if you slotted like let's say PSG with TSM, they likely make it out. If you slotted Machi with TSM, I think they might have make it out.
Seb, wait till tomorrow to smash TSM.
Look, I'm just talking about matchups between teams. This is speculation.
Yes.
Which leaves my second question then. Do you think
Okay.
it was warranted for when the LMS and the PCS fused together for there to be only 2 seeds to the PCS instead of upgrading them to 3 seeds?
I think they should have gotten 3 seeds. Like I know there's certain people like the Monte Cristos of the world or whatever that believe that worlds should be like 80% Chinese and Korean teams. And like I think that ruins the fun of it. So I definitely think that all regions should have their own representation, and I think that PCS has shown that they can definitely compete. And at this point, depending on how things go, they compete seemingly more than Europe
fair.
and NA in certain cases. So I definitely think that there's a world where I don't know how you would determine it, but like I definitely think that maybe find a way to determine what the top like 2 regions are and then make it so there's only 2 regions that send 4 teams and send those 2 other seeds to other regions. But I know that kind of like then would like mess up how MSI works and stuff like that. So I get that it's different.
Yeah, that would be different.
I'm personally of the, and hear me out here.
Okay.
I think that the tournament format should stop being groups and should just be best of 5 with losers brackets. Wholesale. We know for sure the best evaluation once everything's been trimmed down is the best of 5s.
Okay.
And oftentimes people feel cheated at the best of 5 sections because they feel like, what if this team matched up with this team? What if all these different combinations? So imagine a scenario where there are 32 teams instead of 24. There were 12 regions that qualified. There's
Okay.
32 teams. You could have every region send 2 teams and then have the top 8 regions send a third team.
How do you figure out who the top 8 are?
I mean, who places in the bottom averaging?
Oh, okay.
Right? Like you get 4, if like a bunch of your, if 2 of your teams are like consistently on the lower end compared to everybody else, then those 4 regions only send 2 teams. And that still gives you every region 2 teams to send.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you noticed how competitive a region looks once they get 2 teams to send? There was the year where Vietnam had just Gigabyte Marines. They sent it in, and everybody's like, "Oh shit!" And then like Riot gave them a second seed after like the Latin American League forced to fuse, and then both of those Vietnamese teams were super competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't know exactly what the tournament format would be, but I definitely think that like we need to find a way to make worlds worth it for the regions that are showing improvement. I definitely need to we need to find a way to reward those regions more.
I find it's weird that there are no ways for, so like there are a lot of places that have championship points, and that determines how it's played.
Okay.
My 2 issues comes like, oh hi, spring split could just be summer split but long. It's, how does Riot figure out how to allocate seeding without having to look at the year prior? Because I feel like that's a bad way to look at how competitive this year is going to be. Think about it. The year China won their first year was the year where every major region performed better than Korea. And if you said that the year beforehand, you said that next year Korea will be the worst of the major regions.
Yep.
Everyone would laugh at you.
Yeah.
They're so like we can't, if like this is no longer the times where we can evaluate how any team is going to do the year after or how any region is going to do the year after.
Mm-hmm.
None of the old guard Chinese teams are here, so everything's a question mark in the air. The only ones that are not question marks are Team Liquid, which have been to Worlds 3 times now and have had, I think, literally the same score every time.
Mm-hmm.
They always end in 3-3. I think that's hilarious. So we
I
know
hate
that's
it,
not
but you can laugh, I guess.
Hey, they can qualify on 3-3.
They could. They could.
They could. It's just I think they do it too late and against the wrong teams. Oh, I think Conor froze. Anywho, as he gets back eventually, and we know for sure that Cloud9 when it comes in is going to be the best performing in North American team, but they didn't qualify this year. So there's like
that's also because they ate shit near the end of this the split as well.
So like there's so many question marks that come with it. We know that the only thing we know about LGD is that they ate shit in group stages 5 years ago. That's not a metric to measure anything. Mm-hmm. We know nothing about how any of the other teams perform internationally.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, Fnatic is also the most inconsistent team at Worlds. It's the only other non-Korean and Chinese team to have a world championship under their belt.
But a lot of people try to not include it because it was -3 regions.
Except there were Korean and Chinese players at that world championship.
Again, I'm not saying I do, but
I'm putting it out there, like, you can't completely discount it. That region
there is an
literally,
asterisk next to it, but it's still legitimate.
yeah, like they're the region that still defined how 90% of the game is played today.
Mm-hmm.
The bot lane meta, ADC support bottom lane, that's defined by Europe. That the counter jungling that exists, Europe. Almost everything about the macro sense of how the game is viewed is Europe, except for teleports.
Mm.
That's straight up out of China. Nope.
Oh,
He'll be back soon.
well,
Give it a bit.
Connor's gone, which means our display is fucked up now.
Oh.
Maybe
Give
we
it a
should just
moment.
wrap it up and take it as a sign.
Okay.
We could talk about tournament formats, I think, as a bonus episode later.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, the rest of you, let us know how you think Rogue and PSG did. Are you as sad that now the Pacific region is gone? Rest in peace also to the Australian region. We can't say it enough. Thank you all again for watching. Like and subscribe when you have the chance, and we really appreciate you watching. Have a good one. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Peace.